Hello and welcome to the Tricks FS Trade channel. Today happens to be the 28th of March 2017, and in today's video we have Kasey Staniszewski. She's the 2013 Crown Queen, Beauty Queen of Maryland, United States of America. And we are gonna be having a series of beauty queen transgenders. So anytime maybe you just can click or type it in the search button in a window and just say beauty queen transgenders, and you'll bring up some stuff for you so you can actually look and see. All right. Now we already have Miss Maryland 2012 on a channel, and that happens to be Nana Merriweather. It's not a coincidence, all right, that we have two transgenders representing the state of Maryland from the United States of America in beauty pageants. Merriweather, we've already shown you Nana Merriweather, that's a transgender. And today we're going to show you also Kasey Staniszewski, who's also Miss Maryland in the beauty contestant, right? Representing the state of Maryland in the year 2013. So, with that said, before we get into the video, if it's your first time watching our channel, I always advise that you watch the primer video first. So you can pause this video right here, go watch the primer video, because I want you to have the basis and the groundwork for whatever we're gonna be talking about, so you didn't get confused and you don't ask too many questions. I want you to have basic facts and information, because our channel is dedicated to presenting facts. We're not just gonna be talking without showing you facts. We have to show you facts, because we don't want you to be churning the information over in your head and you can't make sense of it, because a lot of YouTube channels, all right, don't give you the whole truth. They just give you parts of the truth. And if you have to understand your world, we have to present the truth to you. We have to show you how to connect the dots. So when you hear something over here, over there, you can piece together the whole puzzle and everything starts making sense. So you're no longer confused, all right? So that's what our channel is dedicated to. So that's why I do recommend that you should please watch the primer video first. If you don't do anything else, watch the primer video first. I also recommend that you download the document that's attached to every video that we make, that will show you the visual differences between male and female. The document looks like this, so it has a lot of pages, but it will take you 30 minutes to go through. I promise you, it just has so many pictures, and you learn better with pictures. All right. And also at your own time, watch the Marilyn Monroe video, watch the Zayn Malik video, and if you can, go through all the videos that we have on our channel. It's even better for you. So you're better equipped to understand your world, to know what's going on. Because I want to leave something for the next generation. Because from generation to generation, we've been told lies. Each generation as passes away loses its history, loses knowledge, and is becoming more dumb and dumber by the day. So my channel, it's my life's goal to leave some truth for the next generation, or leave some truth for those who are searching for it. That's my goal. That's our goal. All right. So like I usually say before I get into the video, that we are not against transgenders. We have nothing against any transgender. We won't see a transgender on the road and say we have something against you. It's your life if you want to live it that way. As long as you're an adult and you make the decision for yourself that you want to leave the hoax and fantasy of being in a gender that's not the gender that you were born with, that's totally up to you. We have no problems with that, because God has given to every one of us, the right to make his whole life the way you want it. All right. What we are on this channel trying to expose is that certain people have hijacked our reality, and that certain people, the hierarchy which controls the world as we see it today, through their churches, through their banking system, through the technology which they own, is the Vatican. There are the people who have put a system in place which is taking young children. You have to think about this. These children are being manufactured as products. That means these children are treated like you would say someone is producing, let's say, maybe toilet paper or whatever product they want to produce. That's how these children are being produced, right? They're manufactured in the sense that they grab some sperm and grab some ovary and put it inside a woman's ovaries, and the woman is a surrogate. The woman gives birth, the child's taken away, and they do whatever they want to do with it. It's horrible. It's horrible. I was a child. So if someone were to treat me that way, it would break me. And that's what I'm trying to expose on this channel, that you should understand that the people who are doing this thing is the Vatican, the so-called Pope and its hierarchy. All right? So when you hear the word, when you know they try to confuse you with so much information that you can't understand that it's the Vatican who's been doing all these things. It's the Vatican who's been involved and organized every major event that has changed and shaped the world that we live in today. All right? Whether it be 9/11, whether it be the First World War, the Second World War, the French Revolution, the Great Depression, the recession that we have in 2008, the recession that we're still going through, or the presidents who run in office who are trying to tear a country and the world down, be it the Bushes. I mean, all the lines of presidents of American presidents all around the world. All right? And every other president around the world. They've all been hoodwinked and controlled by the Vatican. And how do they do this? Because they control the money. They control the issuing of all international currency that's being used in business. All right? So with that said, let's get into the lady. We'll call her a lady for now. She's not the one I'm pulling up right now. Kasey Staniszewski, and then from then we'll show you some other things. All right, so let's do that. So before I get into Kasey Staniszewski, I want to show you a little bit of history. I had started this already on the Nana Merriweather, right? I think so. Did I get the name right? I want to say the name right, so just give me a second, all right? Yes, so I did say the name right. Nana Merriweather. We had already started this little history on Maryland. And like I've said, it's not a coincidence that the 2012 Miss USA was a transgender Nana Merriweather, as I've proved on the video. You can look for that video on this channel, the Nana Merriweather video, all right? And right now we have who we call Kasey Staniszewski. Kasey Staniszewski. And I'll show you right here. He's Kasey Staniszewski. And as you see, it says Miss Maryland, USA 2013. Also a transgender representing the state of Maryland in the United States. Now, in the history that I had shown you before on the Nana Merriweather video, I had shown you how the name Maryland came to be. According to them, they said it represented Henrietta Marie of France. The state is named after Henrietta Marie of France, but I would like to think that it's named after Virgin Mary. It's just my thought, but let's go with the official statement they say here. Now, the person who found the state when it was formed in the early 17th century, as it says here on this wiki page, was George Calvert, all right? If you're following my mouse, George Calvert right here. And it says that it was intended as a refuge for persecuted Catholics from England, which I can tell you vehemently is a lie. Because during the Reformation, right, Catholics weren't just people weren't remember, you have to understand how the Reformation started. Everybody was a Catholic, all right? So let's just put this in the proper context. Everybody was Catholic. So if everybody was Catholic and then they, right, decided not to be under the authority of the Pope anymore, when their Bible, when the Latin Bible, because all Bibles before during the Roman Catholic era, all right, before what we have today, all Bibles were written in Latin and spoken in Latin, right? So when the Bible was now translated into the common language, common to everybody, and if everybody was Catholic, how could they now be persecuted? Because the people agreed to hear the word. They heard the word themselves. So they couldn't be persecuted Catholic. The people who were persecuted, right, who are in direct contradictions with the Reformation that happened, was the hierarchy of the Roman Catholic Church, which means the priests, right, which didn't agree or which were still fighting for the Pope, right, fighting for the Pope in terms of being dedicated and being faithful, right? Those were the only people who would be persecuted, because when the people realized that the Pope wasn't of God, he wasn't doing anything according to the Bible, these people were in bondage. So how would they be persecuted? I mean, if you're a slave, let's just take hypothetically say this. If you were a slave and all your life you know that you've been in slavery and you've been set free, right? Set free by the by not the people who enslaved you, by somebody else totally, who came in and took away the people who were enslaving you. How would you be persecuted after being set free? It doesn't make any sense. So when you read a lot of this stuff on like I'm saying, when you're studying a lot of things, you have to study with sense. You have to think about it. So this is actually a lie, right? It's not proper information. It's a disinformation, because the real reason why they came to the United States, right? And these people came and established a state in the United States was because when a lot of people were running away from the bondage of the Catholic Church, the first place they came to was the United States of America. That's why a lot of them left. People didn't want to be subservient to the Pope anymore. So what did the Pope have to do? He said, okay, wherever they go, we follow them so we can still keep binding them to us. That's how they came in and had a foothold in the United States of America, like controlling the major provinces which are used to control the rest of the United States, which happens to be Maryland, the state of Maryland, right? I'm just going to read the states to you right here so you see what I'm talking about, which happens to be the states of Maryland, the state of Virginia. These are all control powers of the United States. West Virginia, Washington, D.C., Pennsylvania, right? Pennsylvania, right? Delaware, Baltimore, and not the least of all, New York City, New York State, and New Jersey. These were all Roman Catholic strongholds. So whenever the Protestants moved down here, the Roman Catholics moved down as well, so they will have a stronghold in the United States of America. That's why they can control the United States still today. They had a stronghold first. Okay? So now let's talk about George Calvert. We're going to read about George Calvert, the person who was formerly, or let's say formerly associated with establishing the state of Maryland. All right, we'll click on his link and we're going to read some things about him so you should know. So I'll just read a few stuff. You could maybe you could do this on your own, but I just want to do this on the video in case somebody else doesn't have the time. It says George Calvert, first Baron of Baltimore, right? 1579, 15 April 1632, was an English politician and colonizer. He achieved domestic political success as a member of Parliament and later Secretary of State under King James I. He lost much of his political power after his support for a failed marriage alliance between Prince Charles and the Spanish House of Habsburg royal family. Rather than continue in politics, he resigned all of his political offices in 1625, except for his position on the Privy Council, and declared his Catholicism publicly. The people didn't like that, right? During the Reformation, once you were a Catholic and you were like a hierarchy, or let's say a royal, it was a problem. because these people didn't want you to subject them to the bondage of the Pope anymore. Now let's read further down. Let's go further down to the early life of Calvert here to show you something of interest of George Calvert, right? Now it says family and early life here in that section. It says little is known of the ancestry of the Yorkshire branch of the Calverts. At George Calvert's knighting, it was claimed that his family originally came from Flanders, a Dutch-speaking area today across the English Channel in the modern-day Kingdom of Belgium. Calvert's father, all right, and earlier Leonard was a country gentleman who had achieved some prominence as a tenant of Lord Wharton, and was wealthy enough to marry a gentlewoman of a noble line, Alicia or Alice Crossland, or sometimes spelled Crossland. All right. He established his family on the estate of the later built Kipling Hall near Catterick in Richmondshire of Yorkshire. All right. Now he says, I'll just skip over this a little bit and just follow my mouse to what I'm going to read to you, right? He says, in 1569, Sir Thomas Gargrave had described Richmondshire. Richmondshire is the place where George Calvert came from, all right? So I just want to make you understand that as I'm reading further. He says, Sir Thomas Gargrave had described Richmondshire as a territory where all gentlemen were evil in religion, by which he meant predominantly Roman Catholic, right? So this man here is trying to tell you, right, that the part where George Calvert, Richmondshire, which George Calvert came from, right, were evil in religion. And you have to know these are royals. These are top-ranking members of the society. Back then, they recognized that if someone was Roman Catholic, hierarchy that means someone who's royal, a priest or someone who's royalty, all right, in the neighborhood. It was evil in religion, by which he meant predominantly Roman Catholic. It appears, I'll just read this last statement before we go further. It says, it appears Leonard Calvert was no exception. Why? Because he was Roman Catholic. So you can understand the mindset of the people way back in the day, during the Reformation, and what they got to know about who the Roman Catholic Church was. All right? But now, all that's been lost because the Vatican controls our educational system. They control the books you read. They own the media, and what you hear and what you see. You never get to hear anything about them. Only thing you hear about Roman Catholics, it's in a religious, pious kind of way. And if it's any scandal, they sweep it under the rug. No one gets punished. Nothing. So it's not a coincidence that we had, like I'm saying on this video, that in 2012 you had Miss Maryland, who's a transgender, and we have proof such as such on our channel on the Nana Merriweather video, who was the 2012 winner of the Miss USA pageant competition beauty contest, was a transgender. And then in 2013, the following year, the person representing the state of Maryland again, which is a Catholic-owned state, one of the founding states that makes the United States of America, is also a transgender, as we will prove on this video. So with that, let's get into it. All right. Here is a picture of Kasey Staniszewski. All right. And what you're seeing here is the hips of Staniszewski, all right? You can see how short the length of the hip is. The widest part on this hip of Staniszewski, right, is below the crotch, which is always an indication that that's male. Now, if you don't understand that, so let me explain that a little bit more for you, okay? Now, here is a female pelvis, all right? Now, a female pelvis is wide because of this wide pubic arch. So it's more like if, for example, let's say if you have this, what they call a wheelbase in a car, right? The farther the wheelbase is in a car, the longer or wider that car is going to be. Does it make sense? Right? Because the support structure, the support base is wider apart, so the stuff is gonna be big, is gonna be more wider or bigger. So in that same scenario, since the pubic arch here is wider, the pelvis of a female is wider too, farther apart pushed. Now because of that, the these hip joints are placed farther apart on a female's legs. That's why a female's legs are farther apart and she has a Q angle, the angle between the hip and the knee. All right, okay. Now I've shown those differences before in one of the videos. So if you have the document out, you should just pull out that document that I said, and you see that already. All right, so but I'm just going to show you with these pictures right here. So now this part of a female is always the widest part in a female's body. So that means if you look at a female, you probably see this part sticking out just below her pelvic bone, right? You see this part sticking out here. This part here is called the trochanter of a female. Now, because of that sticking out, all right, and because the Q angle, the angle between the hip and the knee is very, very acute, right? This makes this trochanter to be pulled down, all right, because it's not straight. So if this was straight, this would stand up straight like you see here on the man over here. If you can see, this is leaning. Can you see the edge right here? It's leaning. With this, it's further straight because this is male. So because of that, this part here sticks out and is pulled down further. So the widest part on a female will be around this hip area. So when a female wants to like measure herself, right? If she wants to sew a dress or sew a skirt or get into a pant, this hip area is going to be the widest part. And it's always going to be below a female's crotch. The hip for a woman is always going to be below the crotch. As you can see here, the tape measurement is round below that female crotch line, because that's where the hips, that's where that trochanter right here is sticking out from. Okay. Now for a male, a male's a male's a male's trochanter or hip, right, is further up. It's not lower down like a female below the crotch. The reason being, the way God designed it is because the male reproductive organ is supposed to be below body temperature. That means if, for example, the human body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius, the male reproductive organ has to function below that. All right, so that's why it's outside of the body and not inside, right? So the hip bone, right, it's right here. As you can see how this lady over here is measuring the hips of a man. It's always going to be above his crotch. So the widest part on a man's body will always be above his crotch. I mean, not the widest part, but his hips will always be above the crotch, because the widest part on a man's body is his shoulders, not his hips. It will never be his hips. All right. So the hips of a man is above his crotch. So with that said, as you can see here, right here, if you go to buy a pair of jeans, right, your hip is going to be above your crotch. This is the crotch. Your hips will be above. All right. And your waist will be above the hip or the pelvis right here. Okay. So with that said, let's get back into Staniszewski, Kasey Staniszewski's picture. As you can see, the widest part on Kasey Staniszewski right here is above the crotch. Right? See that? Now let's pull up another picture. This is the picture of a transgendered model who was in the Miss Universe competition, in which Trump was getting a lot of flack for, all right, which was just supposed to be a sideshow, so people will know that 60% of the contestants on beauty pageants are actually transgendered males. This is a fact, and this is truth. I will continue to show you more and more beauty queen pageants on our channel so you can understand what I'm saying. So this is Jenna Talakova right here. So we're going to compare the picture of Jenna Talakova's hips, right, with that of Kasey Staniszewski. Here is Jenna Talakova right here. The widest part of Jenna Talakova's hips right here, as you can see, if you draw a line, right, is above the crotch of Jenna Talakova, because this is male. If you draw the same line, if you look for the widest portion on these hips of Kasey Staniszewski, Miss Maryland, you will see it's above the crotch also, meaning that you're looking at two males. Now let's pull up a picture of a female in this same exact pose. I want you to understand that this is a beauty pageant, so you can see that the poses are the same, right? Can you see that? They're both holding a towel, a muffler, or whatever for this particular run walk that they have, all right? Or catwalk on the Miss Universe beauty pageant. So I want you to notice something else also. Can you notice how flat the two tummies are? Because a man's tummy usually tends to flatness. All right. Now let's pull up a picture of another beauty pageant here who contested on the same beauty contest. All right. And this is Erin Brady, the 2013 Miss USA pageant. All right. We're going to make sure that all the pictures here are the same so you can take a look at the hips. Okay. I want you to see the hips here. All right. We're going to blow this up as much as we can for all of them. So I want you to see the differences, okay? So we can look at that difference. So let me blow this up a little bit more and bring it down and pull it to the side so we can see that difference, okay? Let me push this more and push that more. Push this more. I'm trying to make sure that you see. Okay, the hips seem to be all at the same spot. All right. Let me push this a bit more down. Now let me push this a bit like that, and push this a bit more and try to increase that. I think that should be fair enough. Okay. Let's reduce this, because I want them to be all in the same frame. Okay, that's good enough now. Now, this is Erin Brady, all right? If you see the widest part, you see how long the curve of the hip is, the distance. See how long it is, where it starts and where it ends. And where does it end? Below the crotch, female. And all of them are in the same catwalk stance for the beauty pageants, because they're all holding something, a towel or muffler in their hands. Can you see that? Muffler here, muffler there. Now look at the widest part on Jenna Talakova right here. If you draw a line from that part, right, the widest part on that hip, which is right there, you could see it's above the crotch. If you draw the widest part on Kasey Staniszewski right here, which is the widest part on that hip, you can also see that's above the crotch. So since Jenna Talakova is male, that means this is male as well. And if you see Erin Brady over here, right, widest part on the hips right there is below the crotch. Below it, not above. Female. This is male. And this is male. Okay? So, and another thing I want you to notice is the flatness of the tummy. See how flat this tummy and how muscular it is? Right? There's very little fat content. The same thing that you have with Jenna Talakova. And look at Erin Brady's tummy right here. See how the tummy curves from the side? Because a female's tummy will always curve. It will curve from the side like that. It would curve upward and it will curve downward. Reason being, this tummy is expected because the muscles around here are not as tightly packed as a male's tummy over here or as a male's tummy here, because this is female. This tummy is supposed to expand when she's pregnant, so that's why it's packed that way. So you're looking at a female here. See where the hip ends? Male here. See where the widest part is? Above the crotch. And Kasey Staniszewski right here, the widest part right there, above the crotch. Male, male, and female. All right, let's go further. Some other pictures on Staniszewski. Okay, and here's another picture of Staniszewski here, Kasey Staniszewski, and as you see, she has a straight back. Clear indication of a male. And look at the muscular structure as well. You're looking at a male. Don't worry about this little slope, is because it has some implant that she's done some body contouring to make it look that way, and she's also wearing heels. Remember when they wear evening gowns like this on a beauty contest, they wear heels. So because he's wearing heels, that pushes up the butt a little more and makes it makes it look like it has a fake arch. There's no arch. This is a straight up male's back. All right. Okay. Some other pictures. Look at Kasey Staniszewski one more time. See how straight the torso is? Straight up and down into the pelvis. That's where the pelvis starts. If I was I'm a man, all right? If I happen to take my shirt off and stood like this in this motion, this is what you see. A straight back with no arch. Clear indication that you're looking at a male. No questions asked. Straight back. No arch in the back. Male. Okay? Some more pictures. And here is Kasey Staniszewski as a little child. If you saw this picture and you took the hair off and you covered this part up and covered that part up, what do you think you would be looking at? You'd be looking at a little boy and not a little girl. Kasey Staniszewski, Miss Maryland of 2013, is a dude. No questions asked. All right? Looking at the face of a dude. So with that, I want to show you one more video of how these people can lie to you pretending, right, that they're a female. I just want you to listen to this video for a quick second. All right?
Host Nick, and I'm here with Kasey, Miss Maryland, USA. How are you, Kasey?
I am wonderful. I'm so excited to be here in Vegas.
What Kasey forgot about this video is that she left her small hands at home. If you clearly look at those hands and those fingers, those are the hands and fingers of a man. All right? Let's just play it. And you hear how we can fake the voice and the mannerisms to fool you, so you would think that you're looking at a female when it's a male.
And you ready for some rapid fire questions?
I am. I think so. I hope I'm prepared for this.
Let's begin.
Okay.
What was the last thing you ate?
A salad.
Look at that neck. Again, something going on with the neck, right? When you play this video, you can pause this video at any time and copy this out right here. Follow my mouse and look for it on YouTube and play it at your own time to see what I'm telling you, that you're looking at a man. All right?
I know that's boring, but I did.
So with that said, I come to the end of today's video. I ask that you subscribe and stay tuned. And like I always say, don't believe anything you see on TV. Don't believe anybody. Doesn't matter if the person says he's a pastor. All right? Pastors are one of the greatest liars of all time. I don't want to mention names in this video, but I would say all of them that you see. As long as you see them on TV, they're telling you a lie. All right? So subscribe and stay tuned, and I'll leave you with my words as I usually say. Look with your eyes and see with your brain. Thanks, and bye-bye.